everybody. My name is Corinna and I'm a felting artist on cornitfelt.com. And here is the fantastic Jorie Johnson, an American felt artist living in Japan. And her works really brings together felting and Japanese visual culture, and I'd like to ask her a few things about this. Thank you, Jorie, for coming.
Thanks for the invitation. I really enjoy being here in Ocha, outside of Budapest, again this year.
So you studied textile design, and you're a felt artist now. Could you tell a few things how this class, where you will introduce how to work with sumi ink techniques and how to combine them with felt, how does this come together with felting? We have a lot of felters here.
Yeah. Yes, I studied textile design for industry in the United States and Finland, and while I was in Finland over the winter, I was introduced to the three-dimensional felt boot making. But I was weaving for a long time, teaching silkscreen as well, as it was the idea is individual, unique, new fabrics. Some for industry, of course, and some for personal use. And fabrics for clothing and interior meant that when I had the introduction to the felt boot making, it took a bit of time to transfer that over into fabric for clothing or shawls or lighter weight objects. A felt boot is pretty strong, but when you make a felt boot for the first time, you not only have to we had to start from carding the wool, making the three-dimensional. It was a high ankle boot, but you have to make two, so you do get your practice in from the very start. And then from kind of have done the whole Silk Road from Finland to the west and to Japan to the east. And naturally they're also working at university and introducing wool and felt making techniques in university classes. I started to overlap and of course absorbed techniques used for traditional vegetable dye and chemical dye application to kimono fabric, which is silk. And that is basically where the soy milk application on the silk came into right away. I mean, I could probably within the first year I was there. But people weren't really doing it, and certainly felt was a brand new thing in Japan. So I was introducing just the elementary techniques there, not embellishing with different fabrics. And I wanted to stay in Japan. I needed to make an income, so university lecturing. And as the Japanese are equally, they are tarnished by the Japanese tradition. I became influenced also by it, just because it's at your fingertips, right? Now, what was interesting is that for the clothing pieces, a vegetable dye does not deliver a true black, and so for me sumi was a great way to introduce that, and also the gray tones. Japanese have dark hair, and there was the Yohji Yamamoto and Garçon influence of pure black. Now things have changed a little bit, but I love to use a black because it's the deepest of the colors. And so even with a bright piece, there'll be something in it, black, a thread or the sumi, something like that. And it's an easy to use. Once you have a little practice, you'll have to try it a few times, please, and you're using a good quality sumi ink, but that's a good departure. So you have the black on the white, and silk is available in Japan, but interestingly enough, you can get more silk probably in France or the United States than Japan, because Japan's tradition is the kimono silk. It's different. We don't use that in in felt making. But I learned about the degumming some years ago as well from another American artist who was touring in Japan for some reason. Haven't been in touch with her since then, but I had a class gather at my house, and she introduced us to this degumming. And there will be a text that I will note in the PDF that I've prepared for this class that gives at least one link to where you can learn information about this.
This piece is so-called digam, and as you see, it's see-through where the circles are and not so see-through where they aren't. So that is what you also can learn from Jorie, how to do this. And when you felt in a silk piece like this, you will see those circles, and the whole thing looks very different than you paint circles on your felt or on your silk. So it's a very interesting how do you call this?
Well, technique.
Yes, thank you.
The other that we say it's scoured, and here we have the organza fabric that was reserved with the pair of blocks, and then we're using an alkaline bath that will erase or melt off or scour away the sericin on the silk. So you have two qualities of fabric here. One is what we would call a pongé or China silk, and the other is the remaining original organza that has the sericin in it. Here's another great example. Now we're going to be doing this on white and maybe beige fabric so that you don't quite see this contrast. This I introduce later on because we don't want to contaminate the scouring bath with color quite yet. But it's more dramatic if you're using certainly a...
So to make it clear, you don't see white silk printed with yellow and pinky silk printed with some reddish color to have the circles on it. But the first was that it was darker reddish brick red, and you took away, Jorie took away from the color, and then it got lighter around. And also this was a yellow piece, and she took off the yellow and it got white. So we will dye with white, let's say. Sounds funny.
Yeah, it's not bleaching out. It's literally that the color is in the organza saracen as well as deep into the silk fiber. And so once it's degummed or scoured in the right way, you're removing a layer of around the silk that is the natural saracen layer, and then it's a lighter color underneath like this. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. And it's not something you can buy in a shop. They don't do this in industrial production. And then I had put it into a sample here to show. And what I always love is that you can, if the camera's working properly, yeah, you can hold it up. You can see that this repeat is now smaller than the original fabric, of course, because it is felted into a fabric and it's 20, 25, 30% smaller in that, because of that shrinkage, right?
And the nice thing is that we don't use bleach to take off the color. Also, the sumi ink, you could ask why sumi ink, why not another black, whatever fabric paint or so, because sumi is 100% naturally. You can pour out the leftovers of it to your garden and it's no problem. So if you would like to do black work on your felt or on your silks, maybe also or cotton or any plant fibered fabrics, then choose sumi because you are on the really natural side with it, and it's safe and eco-friendly.
As eco-friendly and traditional as you can get. Here's very subtle on the end of this story, but here's a beige. You can see we dyed white, so to speak, or erased the saracen around it, and then applied the sumi ink, dried it, washed it, etc. And then something like this I used here in sample fabric for a larger coat, which I hope we'll get a close-up picture for you later. But just sampling before one starts is very very important, and it has been a great help here. So again, I think it's fun. Felting can be so unique in shapes and the texture of the fabric, and wool with silk, or a variety of new concepts are coming out yearly. And this is just give you a unique fabric plus the uniqueness of your own felt. So that's the departure ticket for this particular workshop.
So come with us, and if you want to see more amazing things made by Jorie, please check her website, jorie.com.
Yeah, JOIRAE.com.
And she also has wonderful postcard collections with very nice pieces for the home or for wearing, so it's worth to get them there. Thank you very much, and I hope we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Sayonara.